Thierry Henry looked down the camera on CBS Sports and said what every Arsenal supporter already knows, but has been afraid to say out loud. He said, "The board is going to have to decide what they're going to do with Mikel Arteta. All I'm saying is that at one point, after all those years and the amount of money on the table, we've all said Arsenal have the best squad this season. At one point, you will have to talk and answer some questions if you don't win. It's just a normal thing after so long." That is not a pundit being provocative. That is a man who wore the Arsenal shirt with more distinction than almost anyone in history, speaking a truth that the club cannot afford to ignore. And it is the lens through which today's game against Fulham at the Emirates must be understood. Because this is not just 3 Premier League points. This is Arsenal's answer to Thierry Henry. This is Mikel Arteta's answer to Thierry Henry. And this is the first of 2 defining moments. Saturday against Fulham, then Atletico Madrid at the Emirates on Tuesday, that will determine whether this season ends with silverware or with a very difficult conversation between a manager and a board that has backed him with extraordinary faith and extraordinary money. Let us break all of it down. Henry did not stop at the board comment. He went further. He said something that cuts even deeper because it did not come from a critic. It came from a man who genuinely loves Arsenal and genuinely understands what the club should look like when it is working. He said, "They play a certain way. Mikel Arteta plays a certain way. We're strong on set pieces, solid. We don't create a lot." And then he added, "Why do you want them now to just go forward and start to create? They didn't the whole year." Read that sentence again. They didn't the whole year. This is Thierry Henry, the man who transformed Arsenal into the most beautiful footballing side this country has seen in a generation, telling the world that the current Arsenal do not create a lot, that their whole year has been built on something other than the kind of free-flowing, expansive football that the club became famous for. And his conclusion is not that this is wrong. His conclusion is that it is simply what they are. People need to accept it. Arteta goes about the game that way. That honesty from Henry is more revealing than any tactical breakdown could be, because it tells you exactly what is at stake today. Arsenal have failed to win 4 of their last 5 matches. They beat Newcastle 1-0 last Saturday, and nobody described that performance as outstanding, not even Henry. He said it was way better to go into the Atletico game with a win against Newcastle, which is perhaps the most damning compliment you can give. You are not praising the performance. You are just grateful for the result. Before that, they lost to Manchester City. They lost to Bournemouth. 2 goals in a game has become a rarity. Micah Richards identified it. Henry confirmed it. The numbers prove it. This is an Arsenal side that wins tight, grinds results, relies on set pieces and defensive discipline, and has not looked like the side that was dismantling opponents earlier in the campaign. And now they play Fulham. Fewer than 72 hours after the physical and emotional intensity of the Wanda Metropolitano. Less than 4 days before Atletico Madrid come to the Emirates for the second leg of a Champions League semi-final. The timing of this game is brutal, and the context of Henry's words makes it more brutal still. Let us be clear about what a win today would actually mean. Arsenal are currently top of the Premier League on 70 points. Manchester City are second on 70. 3 points today temporarily puts Arsenal 6 clear. It sends a message to City, it sends a message to the title race, and it sends a message to the board, to the media, and to Thierry Henry himself, that this team, in the most congested and demanding period of their season, still finds a way to win. Henry said if it does not happen, if Arsenal end this season without a trophy, the questions will come. He described it as normal after so many years and so much money invested. 6 years of Arteta, an FA Cup in year 1, the Community Shield, and then years of near misses, of second place, of building something that looks magnificent on paper but has not yet produced the ultimate proof that the project is complete. The last time Arsenal won a major trophy beyond the FA Cup and Community Shield was 2014, the FA Cup under Wenger. The Premier League has not been won since 2004. The Champions League has never been won at all. Henry knows all of this better than anyone. He lived through the Invincibles. He was there in 2006 when Arsenal reached their only Champions League final. He understands what this club is capable of and what it has been denied. And when he says the board will have to ask questions if nothing is won this season, he is not being disloyal. He is being honest in the way that only someone who truly cares about the club can be. Today against Fulham is the first chance for Arsenal to start answering those questions with results rather than words. Now let us talk about the game itself, because the context surrounding it is only meaningful if you understand what Arsenal are actually walking into. Fulham arrive at the Emirates without Ryan Sessegnon, without Alex Iwobi, without Kenny Tete fully fit, and with Marco Silva himself flagging additional doubts about unnamed players heading into the week. On paper, this is a depleted Fulham side, but Marco Silva is not a manager you dismiss. He has a track record of organising teams effectively, regardless of the personnel available, and Fulham sit 10th in the table, just 2 points off European qualification themselves. This is not a side playing out the season. Arsenal have not lost any of their previous 32 league home games against Fulham. That is the most any team has gone without a league defeat against a single opponent in English football history. 32 games. It is an astonishing statistic. It tells you something about the psychological dynamic of this fixture, about what the Emirates does to Fulham, even when Fulham have talent and organisation and a manager who knows how to set up defensively. But here is the thing Henry's words force us to confront. Historical records do not score goals. Psychological edges do not score goals. And Arsenal have not scored 2 goals in a Premier League game for a significant stretch now. If Arteta's side cannot manufacture goals today, against a Fulham side missing key players, at home, in front of their own supporters, with the Champions League second leg days away to drive the atmosphere, then what Henry said about the board having to ask questions starts to feel less like a warning and more like a prophecy. This is the test within the test. Not just can Arsenal win in a way that shows the creative confidence that has been missing for weeks? Saka is back. That matters enormously, and it is the one piece of news that genuinely changes the conversation around Arsenal's attacking options today. Henry himself alluded to it in his CBS appearance, talking about what Arsenal can and cannot create, about the way they play, about the set pieces and the solidity. But when Saka is fully functional, the dynamic shifts in a way that statistics cannot fully capture. Defences that face Saka have to commit an extra body to his side. That commitment opens space in other areas, for Gyökeres centrally, for Eze arriving late, for Martinelli making diagonal runs. Saka's presence alone changes how teams set up, even when he is not directly involved in a specific move. This is his first Premier League start since the March international break. He was limited to a cameo in Madrid. Today he starts, and today that could be the difference between Arsenal grinding out a 1-0 with a set-piece goal and Arsenal actually producing the kind of performance that silences the doubters that Henry was giving voice to on CBS. Eberechi Eze partners him in the attacking line. All 7 of Eze's Premier League goals this season have come in London. The Emirates is his stage. He has been the spark in recent weeks, the player who created the controversy in Madrid, the player who changes games simply by receiving the ball in tight areas and doing something unexpected with it. Today, against a Fulham defensive line without full cover on the right side, Eze has the opportunity to be decisive. And then there is Gyökeres. 11 goals in all competitions. The man who stood in the Wanda Metropolitano and converted a penalty in a Champions League semi-final without a flicker of hesitation. Henry described him as capable of being ice-cold in front of goal. That was the implication of his CBS analysis when breaking down Arsenal's strengths. Gyökeres in form, with Saka beside him and Eze creating, is a completely different proposition to Gyökeres working in isolation without creative support behind him. Ødegaard is unavailable. That remains the most significant injury concern hanging over this period of the season. Without him, Arsenal's creativity comes from different places. From Eze's unpredictability, from Trossard's movement, from Rice and Zubamendi's ability to drive forward from deep. The midfield is not the same without Ødegaard. Henry's point that Arsenal do not create a lot is arguably most true when the captain is not on the pitch to orchestrate and find the passes that others cannot see. His absence today makes the performance of those around him more important than usual. It makes Saka's return more important. It makes Eze's willingness to take people on more important. And it makes the question of whether Arteta can find a way to generate real attacking fluency, not just grind a result, the central narrative of today's match. The injury list beyond Odegaard is significant. Timber is out, Marino is out, Havertz is out. Arsenal are not fielding their full-strength side. Neither are Fulham. But the difference is that Arsenal's absentees include some of the players most responsible for generating creativity and unpredictability in the final third. That is where the pressure of Henry's words lands most heavily. Henry also said something that most people glossed over, but that I think is the most important thing he has said about this Arsenal season. He said Arsenal were on the moon after certain performances earlier in the campaign, and back on planet Earth in the grittier, more contested moments like the first leg in Madrid. That image is exact. It captures precisely the duality of what this Arsenal side has been this season. There are matches, certain Champions League nights, certain moments of early season Premier League dominance, where they look like a genuine superpower. And then there are weeks like the last month of April, where they look like a team running on fumes, grinding, surviving on the narrowest of margins. The question for today is which Arsenal shows up? The moon version or the planet Earth version? Henry's warning about the board is predicated on a very specific fear, that this Arsenal side, for all its talent and structure and investment, might not quite have what it takes to cross the line when it matters most. That the gap between being an excellent team and being a trophy-winning team remains just wide enough to haunt them. A performance today, not just a result, but a performance, would begin to answer that fear. 3 comfortable goals, Saka decisive, Eze influential, Gyökeres clinical, Rice controlling. That version of Arsenal, produced today, sends a message to the Atletico second leg and to the title race that cannot be manufactured by any pre-match confidence boost. But another 1-0, another set-piece goal, another performance described by pundits as getting the job done, that only sharpens the questions Henry raised. Here is where everything stands as Arsenal prepare to walk out at the Emirates. They are top of the Premier League. They are level in a Champions League semi-final. They have a squad that Opta rates as the most likely team to win the competition. They have Saka back. They have Eze in form. They have Gyökeres in form. They have a stadium that should be electric, given what is coming on Tuesday. And they have Thierry Henry on CBS Sports telling the world that if this season ends without a trophy, the board will ask questions of Mikel Arteta. Not because Arteta is a bad manager, not because the project has failed, but because at some point, investment and quality and years of near misses have to produce something you can hold up and say, we won. Arsenal have not won the Premier League in 22 years. They have never won the Champions League. And the window to do both in a single season, an unprecedented double, is sitting right in front of them right now. Today against Fulham is step 1 of the final act. 3 points, a win. Ideally, a statement performance. And then Tuesday comes, and the Emirates rocks, and the second leg against Atletico determines whether this Arsenal generation finally answers the question Henry posed, or whether the conversation with the board becomes the defining story of the summer. Everything begins today. Stay with Arsenal.